Good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are from. I'm very glad to be here. Well, let me just quickly get through the part. I would like to clarify that at least I am not a professional or expert, the research scientist talking about those topics. It is purely based on my experience and my journey following the Lord in the workplace, in the service, in the church. I finding out listening is a very, very important skill for most of us. As a matter of fact, every one of us. So let me just start with this. I know many people knows how important to the leadership is the presentation skills. In US, many of the first generation immigrants coming to here with language barrier, we struggle, we fight, go through to improve our presentation skill. Few people truly realize the importance of listening, especially the critical and empathetic listening skill that impacts our presentation, our communication, and winning the argument. Okay, this is very important. If you want, present the argument and you want to make sure you win the argument. Okay, so this morning we shall take you through some self-discipline required to be a good listener, to acquire good listening skill that leads to better understanding, better connections to other people when you talk, better presentations, of course, and better leadership. Okay, let me quickly move on. The first thing I would like to talk to all of you is about why is listening such an important skill in leadership development. I simply would like to say, first of all, it is much more than just hearing. Okay, a lot of people draw an equal sign, and actually in dictionary you can find, even in the Bible translation, a lot of places in the Bible it translates a hear, heard, and listening. They basically coming from the same original Hebrew or Greek words. But I like to call to your attention some very fundamental definition. And as a youngster and young students pursuing your career, I know many of you go to the dictionary first. What does that word mean? Okay, let me start with the 1988 definition. It says the process of receiving, attending to, and assigning meaning to oral stimulus. That means the same thing. Okay. The second part is the International Listening Association. There's a special association on listening. Okay. They came up with a definition in 1995. It says the process of receiving, constructing meaning from, and responding to spoken and/or nonverbal messages. So I would like to just pause just a second, let you sinking in a little bit on these two definitions.
Excuse me, Brother David, can you go to the display setting for the presentation mode?
I already did.
Okay. You're on the PowerPoint presentation mode, or you have another called the display setting?
Display setting on the
upper left corner. Yeah.
Upper left corner. Okay.
Yeah. Second one is called display setting.
Display setting. On the
see?
top. No, stop video, participation. Your screen sharing. Stop sharing.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Then that's okay. Don't bother. We can see it. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh. You see the next small chart. Okay. I don't know how.
Yeah. We see that the next one. Yeah.
I don't know how to get rid of that one.
Oh, that's okay. No, we can see the big one. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, okay. Oh, I see that. That's a screen. Okay. Just 1 second. Let me see if there is a display mode. I can try to do something. Stop recording. Breakout room. Raise hand. Breakout room. The other option does not give me that.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Or the other way around is let me stop the sharing mode. Let me see. Okay. Is this better for you guys to see the main screen?
No, it's okay. You can go to presentation mode. I think that's
Okay.
better, probably. Yeah. Okay.
All
That's
right.
no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, this is good. This is perfect.
Okay.
This is perfect. Yeah.
All right. Oh.
It work.
It worked if you retry. Okay. That's great. So while you're pausing on those definitions, let me also talking about a couple of things. The first is good learning skills helps to connect us with the speaker in a dialogue, conversation, or formal presentation. Listening skill, okay? And not only connecting with the speaker, when you speak, you also connect with your audience better because someone raised a hand, they have a question, you understand exactly what they're asking for. Secondly, it also boosting your own credit, you're boosting your credibility and make you sound more confident because you collect input back. You hear exactly what people were asking for, and you know what you present is what the people would like to hear from you. Okay, so the listening part is very, very important. It's just a lot more than just hearing. So let me also go on to the next one to tell you a little more along the some of the words and phrases similar to it. I love those parts when in my early age of learning, not only I draw upon the dictionary definition of a word, but I also look for what are the similar words. You know, there is a dictionary called thesaurus. What is thesaurus? Is give you the opposite or similar meaning of a word, so you can get a better understanding and comprehension of the word. So listen to this and you look at it. Paying attention, first of all, be attentive, concentrate on hearing. And the second is take heed. For those of you, if you have a limit on English, heed means also taking notice. Okay, give heed and take notice. Take note, mind, observe, watch, follow, notice, mark, bear in mind, give a thought to. Then last part is the similar phrases is take into considerations, take into account, take to heart, hang on to that thing, okay? And also that believe and obey. So as you can see, all these definitions require active attentiveness, not just the passive act of hearing. So it's listening really, really involves much more than your ears. The picture I'm trying to demonstrate that. You see, when you hear and when you listen, if you truly are cranking the meaning of listening, your whole brain is really working very, very hard. We'll talk more, but this is just like opening introduction, okay? Well, all right, let's go on to the next chart. So I talked about the critical and empathetic listening skill. These are the two. So let me start with the critical listening first, okay? What is critical listening? It requires consciously absorbing, comprehending, and evaluating the information given to you by a speaker in real time. So you needed to be a critical listener when your teacher is giving you feedback on an essay you wrote, or when your boss is giving you through what was wrong in a report you wrote. Those are the things that you have to pay attention to. Now, how to be a critical listener when others are speaking or your opponent is making the points. So I like to highlight 3 very simple principles. They are listed in the order. First is to keep an open mind. Okay? When you listen to others, people may speak some of the concept or their belief or their theory. It is not consistent with your view. And you say, well, gee, I know this is wrong. I know this is wrong. Don't have that kind of attitude in your listening. Once you have that, your brain automatically blocks everything that comes along. When you think this is bad, this is something that I already knew, it's bad, it does not conform to what I believe. Or can say, this is thing I already know, much more than the person is speaking. That will automatically shut down your brain to be able to receive and simulate and comprehend the true meaning of what someone else is speaking. Second, clear your mind. What does that clear your mind means? Don't daydream when other people are talking. How many times when you go to a seminar or go to a classroom, you find a little bit of boring, a little bit of not consistent with what you're looking for. Then you begin to do your phones. You do your WeChats. You do your email on your, today, the world, technology make it so easy. You don't need a computer. All you need is a cell phone and the mobile device. And you do all sorts of kind of things. You doze out. You snooze out. Okay? Those are the things is absolutely against for you to getting critical thinking and listening. Why critical listening is so important? Because it leads to critical thinking. And you don't clear your mind to receive that information. It's not good to you. Lastly is taking notes. This is old-fashioned, okay? Today, I tell you honestly, that most of my friends and many of young people I coach with, they do not take notes. But I just want to let you know, I just went to our church's leader huddle, which have a huge church, 5 or 6 different campuses. All the leaders came together from different campuses, several hundred of them. The senior pastor, the chief of staff, the executive director of the church, they talk about the leadership, they talk about their plan. Even they pass out the booklet, I still made notes, written notes. Every Sunday I go to church while I am not speaking. Even those, I help them to formulate their message. I know exactly the script they're going to talk. I still make notes because I don't want to miss some momentary inspiration, key points they are making. Okay? So making notes helps you to accumulate and understand and build up yourself to be a better speaker and therefore the better leadership. Okay? Then let me talk about the next one. Next one is what we call empathetic listening. What that means is empathetic listening means that you about connecting with the speaker and trying to see the world through their eyes. This is very important, very, very important. So the first thing is that you stay present. This is very important because first part, I talk about the critical listening. That means you filter through, you keep an open mind, you take notes, you simulate. You begin to get the best out of it. But also, the part of our listening skill is about empathetic listening. Stay present means you stay in the environment of a dialogue, a presentation, that or you are speaking, you are connected with everyone. The second one is also stay present is make eye contact. I give you one example. I know someone dearly to my heart who is super smart, very, very good, top software expert. Okay. And someone is very dear to my heart. Actually, he was my senior brother, flesh brother. And we somehow our career path crossed. And one day he was in a meeting doing a presentation. And throughout the presentation and after the presentation, he never raised his head looking at you, like what I'm doing right now. He was doing like literally like this. Throughout for that presentation and talking. Afterwards, even though I am the younger brother, I have to tell my senior brother, my elder brother, I told him, I said, Brother Joseph, you needed to raise your hand. You needed to have eye contact. Because when you're not doing that, you cannot observe to receive the part of listening skill that sharps you too, is looking at other people's visual gesture, body gesture wise, reaction to what you are speaking. Last one, ask the questions. It's a very, very important. I have been a host for an academic conference in China for last 13 years. Every year we go to China, except last 3 years pandemic. Last year we had a virtual. This year I am going to China in November for that. And I'm paying very much attention for those paper presenters and the people. And I visit universities in China and give talks. I pay very much the attention how the young people ask questions. If I give a talk, after the talk, there's no one raised their hand. I don't know if you got it or not. But if someone is raising the hand from ask a serious question, even if you ask a wrong question. I give you a very personal experience. My son went to Carnegie Mellon University to study computer science. And many of you know, Carnegie Mellon University is ranked the #1 college for the computer science major in college. Very, very hard to get into it. I told him, I said, Samuel, you needed to ask a question from your teachers. He said, well, if I ask questions, what about if I ask a stupid question? And the teacher will think that I am stupid. I said, no, you don't understand. All teachers and professors like you ask a question. Even you ask the wrong question, they will help you. They know you are missing the mark. And that's what you are going to school for. And you want to learn from the professor if I got his point wrong. If you ask the right question, it's also good. The teacher said, oh, someone got my point. Okay? So it doesn't matter if it's a right question or the wrong question. You raise your hand asking seriously from your heart some of your questions. So this is called empathetic listening. But empathetic listening, at the end, what is most important for you to know is the next chart. You see the love sign, bridging the two person. The love and compassion about each other. More so is a compassion in a work environment, okay? In a professional environment. A compassion toward each other that you want to care, you care for the other person. You feel for the other person. You look from their lenses of the world to get what their point. And when you speak, by the way, and you speak their language, This is very important, okay? Let's move on. The next one is how to practice and build the good listening skills. First is about knowledge. Second, structure. Third is context. Fourth is a threat. I will go through each of them a little more, okay? Let me go through the next few charts for you. Listen, the knowledge. I personally believe if you want to be a good leader, You must continuously to learn and also non-stop expanding your knowledge base. So here are some recommendations and tips. Reading. I tell you one thing, when my son, he was a very, very sharp young guy. He actually went to intern for some major corporation in US, and he was preparing his presentation to the senior vice president of the company. So he came back to me, he said, Dad, would you mind to help me to prepare the presentation? I did. And afterwards, he asked me a question. He said, Dad, how come you know so much? Because the project he is working on is not my subject field. I said, just by reading. I read the newspaper. I read the scientific articles. I read the white papers. I read the special reports, research papers. I read history. I read and just keeps on. Because all this, it helps you to sharpen your comprehension, making the context of that. Second part is history and culture. Wherever you are, you needed to do the culture. For example, Brother Ming probably know that because he served as senior VP at the major corporations. Okay, in American business environment, a big part you needed to understand is what they call sports culture and also Christian culture, because a lot of people in this country, they're sincere Christians. So they use analogies. I use some of the very basic terms about American football. First of all, when I came to the United States, I find very ironic that American football is called a football. I said, this is a handball because they carry the ball, use the hand. Okay, you know the true soccer, when you hit the hand, you get a penalty kick. Okay, you touch it with your hand, you get a penalty kick. Okay, that's truly football. But the American football, they call football. And I saw that the way that they play, they knock each other. I say, oh, gee, this is not for Chinese. But because you live here, I at least want to understand the basic concepts. Because when you go into a work environment, they begin to talk about, we needed someone to quarterbacking it. What does that mean? You need a leader. When they said, well, this is kind of the basic of blocking and tackling. Well, at first, I don't really understand what that means. Okay, basic blocking and tackling is very, very fundamental skill in any American football playing. And they're referring to, like you go to college, your English 101, your math 101, college math 101. Okay, that's very basic. But it comes from a sports culture. If you don't truly understand what that means in the sports, you cannot listen and understand other people. And therefore, when you talk, you cannot use the similar language to be more effective speaker and convey the similar concept everyone understand in the room. Right? Well, let me move on. The next one is subject fields. I personally believe you want to be a good listener. You also want to be a good subject fields. For example, today as a computer scientist who does not understand artificial intelligence, I tell you something I am very proud of, because it doesn't matter how Google or ChatGPT or Microsoft and IBM, they're coming up with the AI concept. The AI as a terminology, as a research concept, the initial computer programming language, all developed from AT&T Bell Laboratories, the company I joined and spent my best of 35 years career along with that. Okay, but the subject of fields you needed to understand. Even in my retirement today, every day I read the papers. I read the best research papers. I still engage with my former team, believe it or not, in the major subject field and jointly design new patents to file for AT&T. My team just loves me. They say to David, we needed your help to help us to continue the vision of innovation and drive forward. But that's the subject fields. You needed to have that as your knowledge base. And then memory store and the structure and the context. I will go into the structure and the context a little more in the next few charts. But the memory store is something when you are young, you are so good in absorbing everything. But you needed the structure and the context to organize it. I give you a very simple example of memory store. When I came to United States, I went to work after college. I very quickly memorized people's name and associate with their names, their phone numbers. And people say, David, you must have a super brilliant mind and great memory to memorize all people's phone numbers. I remember all my aunts and uncles. I have many in this country. I remember their phone number to this day from 40 years ago. And how do I remember it? I can tell you is they're very simple. You put a structure around. US phone number, they start with the first three letters is area code. If you're from San Francisco Bay Area, 408. If you are from Dallas, it's 214 and then expanded into 469 and 972. In New Jersey, it's 201. And then when the population grows, the phone gets more popular, it's split into 201, 732, 908, 937. No, I'm sorry, 973. So you memorize all those location-wise. Atlanta is 401, 404. Rhode Island is a 401. One of my aunt lived in there. And Massachusetts, the Boston area is 617. Okay, all those numbers you remember. And then you remember where are the area, the next three numbers. Then you only needed to memorize, you only needed to memorize all the last four associated with the first 3 plus 3 and plus 4. That's called structure and context, right? Okay, now because memory is very important. Now, next thing I want to talk to you about the importance about everything around us, the structure. Think about the universe we are in. Now, this is the area thing. God is a creator. And I tell you, every time I look at the universe, I look at the galaxy, I look at the solar system, I get amazed. God does not make a single mistake. Guys, as you're a young person, I'm talking about a little bit of scientific things, okay? If the earth is just that little bit close to the sun, we cannot survive because we will be overheating. And we all know what overheating means nowadays, right? And the second thing is that if we are just a little bit apart from the sun or the angle is not right, we will be cold to death. Okay? So all these things, it's an orderly universe. It's a structure. Okay? That's one thing I want to impress you with. The next thing is now you look at this, the picture on the left and picture on the right. The picture on the right, who is the Chinese person does not recognize this picture on the right? It's the Bird Nest Stadium in Beijing, built especially for the 2008 Olympics. Okay, you look at all these steel frame beams. It's get mind-boggling. Your eye busy how they are connected. Now you need a framework to connecting the data points to form a holistic view. That's the picture I show on the lower left. When you see all those lines of different colors and coming in from all different directions, how do you organize? Think about the framework that the blue ball is your smart brain. How to create us with a smart brain. And you needed to know that how to take those things and form them into structure and the context. And you're coming out with a threat. And I will talk about the context and threat in the next couple of charts. Now, this one give you even a more coming home to the brother Ming and myself because we live in Dallas. This is the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Okay, the very first football game, and brother Ming, I still remember, is 1980, the Thanksgiving afternoon football game for Thanksgiving. It was New York Giants, and I later I lived in New Jersey, close to Giants. Now I live in Dallas, the Cowboys. They always, Giants, Cowboys coming together to play the Thanksgiving football. And that was the first football game I watched because a friend of mine, a classmate of mine, fellow cello student, invited me to his home in Ohio. We watched that game together. And that's the first time I understand, okay, this looks like a handball, okay? And they knock each other down. Oh my God, I said, is this a rustling or something? But eventually you find a lot of the sportsmanship within that. There is a lot of the teamwork in there. So there's a lot of analogy people study about the sports along with the leadership and teamwork, okay? But this complex, what I want to impress you is that can take up to 96,000 people. You think it is easy to fit, well, I build a large enough thing, okay, 96,000. You know that today, US building code, the first thing they certify you can take 96,000 people is saying, what is the escape route? If fire happens, you can clear the stadium within certain required minutes. So therefore, all this, you see so many people, they build with exit path routes to go out. It's seemingly so confusing when you look at that many people, but there are very structured way of building that. And huge stadium, when the way and human waste being added to this place, they're not going to collapse. They're not going to be collapsed. And the air you breathe out, how to take it out. This is all about a complex operation. You also see some computer in the background. I show it because this was provided by AT&T. Okay, it's the Cowboys Stadium's the cloud data center, and this is provided by AT&T. Okay, so let me just keep going. The context. The context is so important. You know, oftentimes when we talk about when we want to build something, so you have to ask the context. Do you think the engineer design and implement and leading the construction crew to build a San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge is the same way of building a single lane wooden bridge? Obviously, you are all very smart young people. You say this is very different, okay? On the left-hand side, you probably don't require a lot of calculations. You just build it. Roll your sleeve and build it. On the right-hand side, you have to do a lot of calculations. You have to do a lot of physics, mathematic modeling of this bridge before you even set up to build and manufacture the steel cables and steel beams, the concrete blocks that form the base within the bay itself. So when you go to visit Golden Gate Bridge, every one of us will enjoy the grandiose view of Golden Gate Bridge. But how many of you know how much engineer effort put into this? And many of us, we ride on the plane. How many of you also realize on a 777 jumbo jet, the Boeing 777 jumbo jet, they have literally 150 miles worth of fiber cables. Literally 150 miles. Can they even manage all those? If you go to the cabin of the plane, you really get dizzy. But everything is organized into structure with a context. And lastly, let me talk to you about is the threat. I show you 3 pictures. How many of you know the chart on the left? This is a famous Chinese Yangtze River. This is the longest river in China and one of the longest river in the entire world. This is a beautiful scenery view of Three Gorge. The one that in the middle you see is from Guangxi province. It's called Longsheng rice paddies. Okay, field. And on the right, is a very simple structure about potentially a house, but they build into what you see as that simple thing. Now, let me just ask you, what do you see on the left-hand side? What are the key threats you see it? Beautiful scenery, waterfront, huge hydraulic water, hydraulic electrical dam. On the middle part, what you see? Beautiful mountainside, or you can see a dragon back. This is what got its name. It looks like a dragon back. And to me, also, it means very, very hard labor. You think about, I am taking a car drive up to the top of the mountain. The local peasants have to walk up halfway to the top and carrying all the things and carry the food down when they harvest the rice. Hard labor. On the right-hand side, you see what are the threats. First of all, you see the structure. What are the foundation? They're holding the weight. All the steel beam columns, the pillars to support the entire structure. And something interesting in the middle part. I personally don't even know what that is, but I know that the tallest building in China is the Shanghai Tower. I visited several years ago. Okay, Shanghai Tower is a building of 630 meters tall, the second tallest building in the world. Okay, now in the visit program, they told us within that building itself, there is something looks like the blue thing inside of the structure. It's called the weight. The weight to stop the building from too much being blown by the wind to the left and right. Do you know how much weight of that metal piece is? 1,500 tons. 1,500 tons. What that is doing is just anchor the entire building when the wind blows it. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is everything, what you see is a picture, it's a concept, it all has a thread. You needed to catch the main thread. And this comes from your good listening skill, your observation skill. Okay? All right, let me just quickly go on to next. I want to talk to you a little bit about Christian beliefs. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm overrunning time just a little bit. I will go fast. How will Christian teaching and practice help with building up listening skill as an inherent skill? Okay, and we can do good at it, and a good habit. Personal time with the Lord require us to really listen hard and hear God speaking to us. The Bible says about speaking of God is sometimes it used the word called whispering. God whispering to us, which means he does not talk loud. Most of the time, he does not talk loud. If you don't listen carefully, you don't get it. This is a great practice. You practice with God first on your listening. And second is learn God's word and deposit in us with all the wisdom God grants us. This is also by Bible verses. I will show you the actual verse in a minute. Serving the church and God's people requires extra efforts in listening, because you needed to listen to other people. What are their needs? What their life issues that you can help to bring them to the Lord. So my conclusion, very simple. Church provides a blessed ground for practicing leadership. Let me very quickly to finish, okay? The first is James 1:19. We all know this verse. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So the highlight words, quick to listen, slow to speak. You all well know as young Christians, this is from God, not from Uncle David, okay? The next one, all wisdoms. This is from Colossians 3:16. So let me just very quickly read it for you. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdoms through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. But again, this is talking about let the message of Christ dwell among you richly. And you needed to use those words to teach and admonish one another with all wisdoms. So which means you deposit the words of God into our heart with all wisdoms. This is also a part of listening that we are doing. And then this is the word in 2 Timothy 1:13. It says, when you heard from me, keep as the pattern of sound teaching with faith and love in Christ Jesus. And the word heard here, I checked the original Greek word. That's exactly the same word as listening. Okay. And the next one is a hear, is listening again. In the book of Revelation, it says, whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says. And the Spirit says to the churches. And I also would like to share with you, in the entire Bible, the word listening was used for 1,597 times. 1,597 times. Just that single word. Now, you would think this is definitely very, very important. Finally, just wrapping it up, the building a healthy and effective habit, listening. I will conclude very simply as we hope through this short time, you see the importance, and we also go to take some of the tips I give, and we will practice for the growth and continuously to enhance your listening skill. And the last, I leave this charts up and open for questions. These are the homework our brother Ming is asking me to give, so you all can take back. And I thought these are the three things I would like to ask, is what might be specific weakness in your listening skill, and how do we find ways to measure listening skills improvement and establish a trackable plan to monitor progress. That's the most important thing.